Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today we're going to be ranking all the 1200 and up CCF cost native tier 2 and native tier 3 characters, especially since we've actually gotten one at tier 4 already, Jean Grey. So yeah, we have a lot to get through because this was the last time we ranked all these characters a year ago, and this list looks insanely bad. This looks wrong. And there's also, like, weirdly a bunch of duplicates. I think I was in the process of updating this and I forgot to update it. Like, I just stopped updating it. So we're gonna go ahead and drag out the oldies, Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, and then we're just gonna do a live restructuring of this list. We also have to drag out Jean Grey here because she got an update. But as you can see, besides those characters and besides Deadpool, none of these characters have gotten uniforms. So they've actually given out very few. Like, yeah, we got Adam Warlock and Thanos last year, and then we got Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, and then we got Jean. So we basically got 5 uniforms for native tier 2s / native tier 3s last year, if you don't count the absolute nightmare that is Deadpool's uniform. So yeah, very few characters in this caliber are getting upgrades, and they're also super expensive. So it's really important to know where they stand. So let's go ahead and get started here. Apocalypse, very outdated, like desperately needs a uniform. The only reason why anyone builds him these days is just to unlock World Boss Legend. I would say there's going to be a lot of characters in Borderline, but yeah, I would say I would probably put Quicksilver in outdated as well, to be honest with you. It's gonna be tricky how many characters we put in outdated versus Borderline. Mr. Fantastic, same thing here, very borderline in terms of his value. Deadpool has essentially no value on his own. He only serves as a leadership for Gwenpool, which is giga depressing, but that was their first attempt at an April Fool's holiday paywall uniform structure, which was absolutely nightmare. Yeah, Odin, I would say, is probably outdated at this point. Silver Surfer, yeah, borderline, hanging on by a thread with just a little bit of PvP value. Useful, yeah, Proxima and Ebony, amazingly, still very useful. I wouldn't say Molecule Man is meta anymore. I'm just sort of jumping around from character to character here. I wouldn't say Molecule Man is meta anymore. I would say he's useful, but he's probably on the lower end of useful. Same thing goes for Cable. He's basically only used now. Honestly, I would put Cable borderline. He's only used as a striker, a tier 4 striker for Black Bolt. That's brutal. Like, that's a brutal usage rate from where he is, from where he dropped off from where he was, right? Where he is now from where he was. So I'd basically put him there. I still think Sentry is meta. I do still think Sentry is meta. I don't think Doctor Doom is meta anymore. I would definitely put him in useful behind a lot of these characters. I don't think Doctor Strange is meta anymore. I think he's useful. Wolverine is certainly not meta. I would say Wolverine is definitely borderline where Silver Surfer is. Unfortunately, this list, yeah, like you can see, everyone is just going down. It's just a freaking elevator down to hell. Speaking of hell, Dormammu and Mephisto are definitely not godly anymore. The thing is, when I looked at this list, I'm like, none of these characters are godly anymore. There's only one, and we know who it is, right? But none of these characters here are still worthy of the godly tier whatsoever. So, how are we going to do this here? Is Adam Warlock meta? That's a tough one. I don't think he is. I genuinely don't think he is. But it would be kind of weird to put him under Sentry, right? So I think we do that there. Scarlet Witch is technically meta for ABX and ABL, but that's it, right? So yeah, I'll put her there for now. But yeah, Mephisto, I wouldn't even call him meta anymore. I definitely think he's useful, but his cost, like, the thing with Mephisto is he's probably as good as Doctor Strange for most content, maybe a little bit worse actually. So yeah, no, there's no reason why he doesn't deserve to be here. Never mind. I was gonna try and explain it, but like, they have support buffs at least, and Doctor Strange is just nutty for a tier 3. But especially considering the cost, how Mephisto's even more expensive than Doctor Strange and isn't as good. No. ABX is not enough to ABX players will tell you it's enough to justify his value being higher, but that's because they're on copium like 24/7. Dormammu is terrible. Dormammu is terrible. I would say he's borderline, just because I know Timeline Battle and Alliance, especially Alliance Conquest, can still use his leadership. It kind of sucks that when they got rid of DRX, they got rid of the really useful place for Dormammu's lead, because that lead was like legitimately so good for a couple of days of DRX. So yeah, I would put him there. Again, he's about as good as Deadpool. He's good for leadership, but that's really not saying much. Okay, so that's all of the existing characters who just have not gotten upgrades lately, besides Deadpool, who's new. Now we have to go ahead and organize the new one. So Doctor Strange, where does Doctor Strange, right? That's the old Doctor Strange. Okay, no, we're good with Doctor Strange. Getting confused here. Sorry, I had to wake up an hour earlier to make this video, so I'm operating on very little sleep here. So we basically just have Jean Grey, Gore, and then the assumption of Kang. So obviously Jean Grey is godly. I don't think Gore deserves to be godly, because there's just such an insane drop-off from Jean. Like, we just have to make this very clear. There is such an insane drop from this. Like, it's almost insane enough that you would want to do this. Like, not even joking, but actually serious. I know these colors are all screwed up, but like, right? Like, this is literally the power level between Jean and literally everyone else on this list. It's literally that big of a gap, because none of these characters, right, are good for the other side of the game mode, right? So they're either really good for PvE or they're really good for PvP, and that's it. Like, you could argue a little bit for Adam Warlock. He was decent at the time, and he actually, like, his best build, ironically, is a hybrid build where you give him like a mighty or a brilliant CTP of energy, but he's very difficult to proc with, and he's still not that good for a blast type. And then of course we just have like so many blast tier 4s now with Professor X, Magneto, like, you know, there's just so many, right? So yeah, but Jean just destroys all content. She just absolutely destroys content, and not only does she destroy the content, but she does so in a way that allows her to have whatever build you want. She can do, like, it's nutty. You can give her a hybrid build and she'd be a great hybrid character, right? With something like a Greed, for example. Or you can give her a PvP build and she's still insanely good for PvE. Or you can give her a PvE build and she can still function in PvP. You cannot say that about any of these other characters. So I hate to spend like 2 minutes harping on this, but there is a serious, massive, colossal gap between this lady right here and literally everyone else on this list. Like, there's no exception. Okay, so yeah. My advice at this point, with the way native tier 2s and native tier 3s are and how expensive they are, I would say position your account towards building to the possibility of unlocking Jean. But I would not consider almost any other character on this list unless you're just trying to burn mats for fun, or unless you are, you know, building up supports. Now, it feels bad to put Proxima and Ebony down here, considering they're two of the only good supports we have in the native tier 2 and native tier 3 category. Like, you could argue that they deserve to be higher because they enable characters to climb in World Boss Legend, get higher scores in ABX and ABL, do faster in GBR, farm faster, etc., right? And we even know that Ebony has some PvP value. So their value can actually be higher than some of these other characters' values above them, like Thanos, etc., right? If you don't care about certain game modes, if you're not pushing scores or whatever. So yeah, take this with a little bit of context that they could absolutely be better for that. I mean, I'll just maybe highlight it this way by putting them ahead of Doctor Strange, just because of that support value. And we know that supports are always eternally valuable. But other than these two, and then Jean, and then perhaps the justification that you built Quicksilver and you built the Scarlet Witch and Cable and Apocalypse just to unlock World Boss Legend, that's fine. But like, building these characters up, right, is almost exclusively an endeavor for PvP these days. You can see here, right, after Jean, and if, like, let's say you don't have Jean for PvP, but you want someone else for PvP, the next 4 in line are all PvP focused until you get to Scarlet Witch. That's insane. And again, none of these characters down here from Gore on, they compete with Jean, right? So that's what I'm saying. Essentially, if you want a character for PvE, I wouldn't even look here. I wouldn't even look on this list, because none of these characters besides Jean are going to be outstanding for PvE, right? And especially considering their cost. So just go for Jean. And then if you're going for PvP, just go for Gene. That's really the video. The video is just go for Gene or save your resources waiting for Kang. And honestly, I hope Kang gets put up here. I really do. I think it's unlikely, but I really hope that he does. I hope that he's a really strong native tier 3, or I don't know if it's too early to do like a native tier 4. If they subsidize his cost so he costs the same as Gene, I think it could work. And then that would justify making him about as strong as Gene. But I think if he's any weaker than this, I think it will be a disappointment. I think it's unacceptable if he's as strong as Gore. Like, he has to be unquestionably stronger than Gore for whatever content he's good for, right? It's going to be really tricky. Like, to be honest, I don't envy the devs having to balance Kang if he's going to be that type of character, because, well, he kind of has to be a type of character. I don't know why I'm saying that type of character. He basically has to be, but he has to be really good, right? The only other option they have is if they're not making him into a world boss. Let's say they're making him into a GBR or whatever. And then they make him a tier 1 character, but you can still get him to tier 4, right? Like, they have to not only make him one of the best, if not the best, in this category of characters, but then they also have to make him able to compete with actual tier 4s. Because if he can't compete at all with tier 4s, then no one's going to build him. There's just no point. Well, I mean, people are going to build him, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, from a meta point of view, there's not really any point to build him. So, yeah. Hopefully that's the way it shakes down, but just so we're clear here, Kang's not in the game yet, okay? Not in the game, not technically confirmed as a character. So yeah, that's the list. Jean Grey and Chill. Thanks so much for watching. Smash the like button. Thanks for watching again. I said that twice, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.